All right, we are live. We're gonna go. We're in our pre-go. All right,
Pre-go.
I have. Okay, I have it. Chit chat, radio stuff, dinner.
Pirate.
Oh, that's right.
Fear, nervousness, same thing.
TED Talk.
Goal achievement.
You know what? I'm gonna get. I didn't put the name of that.
Oh, all I have is Sunday dinner, and then
I have the one.
Oh, that's from the TED Talk. Got it.
Yeah, and I printed the one with my notes.
Got it. Okay, I took those out because I was afraid. Knew I would confuse myself.
And I kept them in because they were like notes to myself of, hey, remember you wanted to talk about this?
Perfect.
You know what I mean? Okay. All right. You did not get the opportunity to start last week because I had to edit it out.
I will start, and I'm going to be brutally honest. If I ever had a filter in my life, it is gone. So we're going to start being brutally honest.
I'm in for brutal honest.
Is it okay if I say that we're recording it? We're trying something new after the technical difficulties, recording a little early?
Yeah, why not? Because actually, I wanted to bring up, because I have a CrossFit competition tomorrow, which I'm terrified of. But I was like, crap, I can't really bring this up because it's not going to air till Wednesday.
No, that's good. We can say we're doing 2 a week. Okay, perfect. I'm ready.
Okay.
15.
15 what? Yes, 15. I already. No? Yes. Okay. I already put it in the title. That's why I was perfect. Like, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. All you.
All me. Welcome to episode 15 of our podcast, What You Can, When You Can.
Yes.
And it is now officially, I'm going to stop for a minute and count in my head. 1, 2, 3, the week of May 4th. But we're trying something different. We decided, since we had the little technical glitch last week, we are going to record a little sooner. So we're doing double duty this week.
Yeah, I want a buffer.
I know buffer is smart.
Buffer. Yes, we need a buffer just in case, Ronnie has to do a little like self-recording and editing for a half a day.
Yes. But it feels like 2 a days. I never played football, but I feel like we have 2 a days. So this is our second one of the week. We're building up our podcast stamina.
Which, if we're able to pull this off, maybe we can actually start producing more than one a week, because I feel like I'm seeing more and more messages of, I'm all caught up on the podcast and I'm waiting for the next episode.
And you know what makes me wonder, and I did respond this to one person, but I'd love to put it out there internationally. Would people enjoy shorter? Like, what if we truly kept it to 30 minutes, hard stop, more a week? Or I wonder, I think I personally would like longer.
That's, you know what, I generally do enjoy longer too. And I feel like this is one of those questions where you will get right down the middle. You'll get right down the middle, both sides. So I feel like we just have to do what comes natural, because then at least we're staying true to our voices instead of trying to like fit into someone else's. It must be a regimented 25-minute podcast.
Perfection. Yes. Shoulds, musts, and oughts. Okay, so This week, you and I have been completely crazy, and I'm going to be sad when this book launch is over because we have been on the phone together nonstop. Do you want to share why we've been on the phone nonstop?
We have been doing radio interviews, which is craziness. They're so fun, but really terrifying at the same time.
I know. And I really was surprisingly terrified the first time. It was a little bit surprising because we didn't know it was coming. The phone rang and I thought to myself, okay, when I answer, if I come across as a bumbling idiot for an entire hour, that is out there. So I was nervous.
I had no inkling that it was going to be an hour. When someone calls you, like literally, it felt like a cold call. And it went from, hi, this is so-and-so from whatever radio station, and we're going to talk to you for an hour. I'm like, an hour? I didn't eat. I had to pee. I was like, and because they like to use, I don't know if people know this, but in the radio world, they really rather you have a landline. And the only landline I have in my house right now that works is a wired phone, like back in 1985 land. So I was like literally trapped in my dining room for an hour.
I laughed that I had a landline installed just for this because they wouldn't do it on the cell. And when I went in to buy the traditional phone at Office Max, it's like they had to call everybody to the front. She wants a landline phone. Do we still have those for the home? Like it was 1980, but I didn't get the spiral cord. Do you have a spiral cord?
I have a spiral cord. It's like
I loved those growing up.
Yes. And actually, I don't feel really, really old on a regular basis, but I'm not going to lie. When we were kids, we had a rotary phone, like a black rotary with the dial. Like me and my kids would look at that today and think it's like an alien toy or something. I don't even.
And that cord, I remember I would mess with it while I was calling boys I liked, and I was really nervous. And then I would hang up and it would be all screwed up and my mom was not happy and she'd re-twirl it for some reason. And then I'd do it again.
I do remember preteen years when star 69 became a thing.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I actually,
remember before caller ID, you had no idea who would call you. And so if you had someone call you and hung up, star 69, you're like, you just called me.
No, I was reading Emma, my daughter, part of my fiction manuscript that I did for kids her age. We pulled it out and I love to weave in pop culture and things like that. But it is terrifyingly dated because when I had the character star 69, she's like, I have no idea what that even means.
No, and why should she? We remember those 800 numbers you would call to like have a discounted long distance rate. Like there used to be, it was like you would add these numbers at the end. Wow.
Wait, can you block caller ID anymore? And then we'll move on. Because I remember being really sad about star 69 because I was always calling boys and hanging up. But then there was a time where you could do like star something and block your caller ID. I don't think you can do that anymore.
You might be able. I don't know. I think it's irrelevant anymore.
I know, you're right.
That's so funny. You don't really think about how much you progress in like, I don't know, I guess you can call that an industry or something, like telephone usage. And so you really stop and go, wait a minute, 30 years ago, we used to do this. And then people go, oh.
And it felt funny being back there with the landline. Okay, so coming back to why we are here is I was really nervous. I don't know if you were nervous. I don't know what I feared that I would say, I think part of me feared I wasn't nervous enough, if this makes any sense. Because typically when I've done phone interviews, I dress up. I put on the suit. So I'm in that mode of professional. I was totally in my home clothes and I was terrified I would say something like, I carried a watermelon and lived to regret it. So I was nervous, and fear might be a strong word. Were you nervous?
I was. I mean, I don't think you actually kind of nailed it. You're almost nervous that you're not nervous, but then when there's this moment of when someone asks you a question, there's like a millisecond where you get really nervous because you're not quite sure if you're going to be able to answer in the way that you want to answer or find the words you want to use.
Or if you're going to talk over Ronnie, I would sit there like, oh.
Well, then my other fear is that we both pause trying to be polite to the other one. And then we're like, should we both talk at the same time? It's like, there is no strategy. And really though, sometimes I think the interviewer should be more nervous and because it's kind of their responsibility to control the conversation. So sometimes I do kind of I give myself a break because I can unload the stress onto them. And I'm like, well, that's her fault because she didn't address one of us. She addressed.
It's why I would fly everywhere if I could. I'm not in charge. I love not to be in charge. But this is what kind of sparked us to think, okay, we're going to start doing earlier recordings. We'll do 2 this week because you and I were kind of having the offline conversation about being a little nervous and fearful about the radio interviews, realizing there was nothing to fear. And it kind of spiraled into a conversation we started and realized this is a podcast all about different types of fear, why we experience them, our experiences with them.
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to start with this because I did something this past weekend that I've been avoiding because of fear. And it seems so silly now to actually think about it in hindsight, but we have,
And isn't that always the way with fear so often?
Yeah, it is true. Like once you kind of get on the other side of fear, you're like, what was I so? Hindsight's 2020. Why was I?
That is my favorite quote. The other side of fear is freedom.
Oh, I've never heard that quote.
I love that.
And I have life begins outside of your comfort zone, which is the concept of you have to go through fear to actually enjoy life. So my story of last weekend was, and it sounds so silly, but I invited friends over for dinner. And just to say it out loud, I'm like, why were you so scared to invite people over for dinner? But for months, if not years, I've been thinking about this. And I think back in my childhood when we had a little bit of a bigger family around us, more distant cousins and aunts and uncles. And we would go over, Aunt Marie's house for dinner here and there, or we would see our cousins. Yeah. And I'm thinking like, in a weird way, my husband and I are kind of islands here in Maryland because we don't have my kids are growing up with no close cousins or extended family, which I think is more and more common nowadays.
It is.
Yeah. And so, as they're getting older, Ryan will be 10 and Evan just turned 4. And I'm like, I want them to be around people, but we can't afford to go out all the time, and it seems to be the default. What do you want to do with your friends? Oh, we're going to go to dinner. We're going to go to dinner. Let's go to dinner. Let's meet at the restaurant. That seems to be what people do nowadays. But I remember looking at my friend one time and I'm like, when did we go from 4 to a party of 7? Because we have 2 kids, they have a kid, and now how hard it is to get a table at a restaurant for a party of 7? It's like
or to find the restaurant where it's okay to bring a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Yes, and like who eats what, and then it's like a $300 bill, and it's like it's just ridiculous.
Which almost makes it the cost of a sitter. It starts.
It does. So then I said, and this thought has been in my head for a while. I was like, I want to start a Sunday tradition where I invite friends over for dinner, and maybe just start small with just like a couple friend with their son or something, but I was terrified. I was scared that they wouldn't like what I wanted to cook, because when we eat dinner, I'm very much a dinner at home person. Even though I was raised by a single mom, we sat down as a family every day for dinner. If we went out and played, we had to be home for dinner before we went back out. That's just
the thing. Even with 2 of us, it's like, that's what we do.
Dinner time. And so I thought, but when we have dinner, just the 4 of us, maybe like yesterday, for example, I made burgers. We had burgers, we had a salad, we had a side of sugar snap peas. It's like, I have a very laissez approach to dinner. I don't worry about like meals and formalities. We sit around the island, it's really relaxed. So I thought, well, if I bring people over, like, do we sit at the dining room table? Do I have it preset? Does everybody have a seat? Do they want wine? Like, I don't know.
Because that to me is the difference between, because it's not my fear, the dinner party, which I seriously would be paralyzed and could never do it. I couldn't do a dinner party. And bring your kids, because that adds the mayhem, the gift of the mayhem.
And I thought that they maybe would think it was like a dinner party. So then I decided, I said, screw it. I'm just biting a bullet. I texted my friend. I said, hey, you guys want to come over on Sunday for dinner? I'm thinking about making some steak and potatoes. And they were like,
see, that's my life is about managing expectations, because it takes away the fear for me is saying just that, hey, I'm grilling burgers with bags of pretzels. Do you
would you want to come? And that's what they did. And of course he was like, oh, thanks so much and there was this sense of gratitude that I invited them.
Yes.
They said, what could we bring? And I said, oh, just bring a fruit salad or so, whatever. And then we sat around and it was glorious. The kids all played and we ate. So it was like, let the kids play. Let's not even like force them to sit down, to dinner. And we ate, just 4 adults having adult conversation. And then after we were done, we sat the kids down and we helped them eat. And then we chatted and cleaned up together. And I'm like, that was so fun. What was I so scared of? It was so silly.
And yet, oh my gosh, can I relate to that? And I was going to share a reason why I can relate, but more important to me is what you said about your friend's reaction of the gratitude that I've started realizing that the older I get, when I want to make a gesture or an overture, an invitation, I have a friend, Laura, who has said for years in response to invitations, evites, whether she can come or not, thank you so much for thinking of me and including me. And I didn't get it at first. I thought, well, that's a little weird, but now I get it. We are all so happy to be invited and included.
Right. I think this particular couple, I've known them for like 10 years, and it's a funny thing is are from my home area, but we didn't meet till we here, so we kind of feel like we had a connection, which is really cool. But I mean, they have a kindergartner, I have 2 kids, and we haven't really seen each other in quite a few months, probably before the holidays. So I think a lot of times too, and this is I can spin this wycwyc, I think we tend to think, well, they're not inviting us, or they turned down my last 3 invitations. And then we start to take that personally. And then we kind of let our relationships degrade, instead of just throwing out another invitation every few months. Hey, you want to do this? You want to do that? And if they say no, knowing that like you always say, it's not you.
No. And if you wonder if it is you, you can ask. I mean, that's so empowering too. Invite somebody a bunch of times and they say no, asking. And the wycwyc thing, I don't know if you've seen, I love Galit Breen. I love her book, Kindness Wins. But long before that, she used to do the whole Friday night, I want to call it Friday night meatballs, but that's not what it's called. Inviting people over Friday nights. It's always, and this has been a nationwide thing, big pot of spaghetti and sauce, and just come over. And I remember saying to my husband before we moved, I should do Sunday night spaghetti because we try to do a little bit of the Sabbath on Friday. And he said to me, but you don't do like homemade sauce. And it a little bit horrified him, but it's total wycwyc of, yeah, I'm going to buy jars of sauce. And if people don't like it, I am so open to them making and bringing their own. But I don't cook. I don't identify as a cook.
Right.
It's enough.
And I do.
They're coming for the entertainment. Yes, I think that would put more pressure. That
I was
going
to say that's where my fear comes in.
Yeah.
I only ever cook when you only ever cook for yourself and then your kids. I feel like I'm very insecure about even though I have a food blog, which makes no sense.
Yes,
I'm
it's
really
to say I'm not a cook though. To be able to say, oh look, it's ragu or whatever.
It is kind of a freeing, But whereas me, I'm kind of like I kind of want to be a good cook. So then there's a little. I have like a self pressure there where I was like, I hope they like it. Yeah. Well, you want to throw a party though. Weren't you talking about something?
Yes, my thing was when we moved to Oakland, and I am, as we talked about on one of the radio shows this week, I'm super comfortable with who I am, and I really believe I'm not for everybody. And if you love me, great. If we just don't click, it's neither you nor me. We're just not meant to be. So we moved to Oakland, and I was like, okay, we're going to do our yearly. It was pretty soon after we moved. Talk like a Pirate Day party. The kids all excited. I'm excited. And then I had a moment of fear because for me, it wasn't, I'm comfy in my own skin. I don't care if other people thought it was kind of quirky and odd because it's really who I am. But I had that moment of, should I be having a very traditional, welcome to our house. It's a housewarming soiree catered by Whole Foods downtown. Or because I don't want people to think she's weird. And so I had that fleeting moment of, is it okay to be who I am? It's who I am. Should I not force it on her? Should we do something more traditional?
Right.
And it was an interesting moment for me.
It is funny when you invite people over into your life or into really you. I mean, it is really terrifying. Yeah. I remember the first time, I think Ryan was in kindergarten. So it was for his 6th birthday at the end of the school year. I decided to have his birthday party at the house. And I was like, I'm just kind of over the bouncy house, invite all the kids to the one, and you get the mass invitation. I thought, you know what? I just, it's not me. Like you said, it's not me. I know it's me and I don't really like that environment. And I had parents come and they were like, their kids wanted to come because they've never been to a house birthday party. These are 5-year-olds.
Yes, it goes all the way back to what you said about the dinner. We don't have people over anymore. I
think people are fearful of it for whatever reasons. We're just really
It's a judgment. Scared. It's a perfection. It is quintessential wycwyc.
Well, when it's my house isn't clean enough, they're not going to do this. They're going to see the way we do this. Enough. Yeah. No, I agree. And I've kind of I have learned though that when you have, I don't know, the confidence to do it, it almost gives permission for other people to do it. And I like, in a weird way, you could be the trendsetter. Like, not that I'm patting myself on the back or anything.
It's motivated me. I've been saying, because I'm more afraid that people will come. I don't have the fear no one comes because then I'm like, woohoo, lock the door.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm the same way with you. If no one comes, I'm like, oh, well, I get to watch it with my husband.
Yes. Okay, so for me, I was also thinking, you and I talked some about this, and this is kind of a second facet to the fear, is it blew my mind, and this has changed my life. Like, I think it might have come out of the book Flow, and I can find the book. I cannot pronounce the last name. I believe he's Russian, but it talked about how our bodies interpret fear, nervousness, and excitement. We choose how to view them. It is the exact same chemical response in our body, and it's a choice. So we can choose to reframe and view as excitement, or we can choose to view it as fear or terror. It's the heart pounding, the breathing faster. And I thought about that with the radio show and I thought, oh crap, I'm terrified when the phone rang. And I thought, no, I'm excited.
Right. Yeah. You can flip that switch almost like this is what we always talk about even in the book is like, you can reframe it. You reframe the fear into excitement and you almost have to convince yourself. You're convince is a harsh word, but if you
and
start
we
to
call it nervous-sighted in our house. Like, I don't know whether that's a thing.
I love that.
But I'll say to my
Nervous-sighted.
daughter, are you, like, you're presenting today, I think I will say, are you nervous? Leading the witness, which I should not say. But she'll respond with, no, I'm nervous-sighted.
Nervous-sighted. That we need to coin that. That might need to be the name of the podcast.
Because it's like, it is that mix. And I think for years, I was never very fearful, but I didn't realize it was a choice.
It was, actually, when you brought that up, which I have heard before, the chemical is the same. It's
crazy.
A few weeks ago, a friend at the gym was like, oh, you need to see this TED Talk. You need to see this TED Talk. And I think it's Dr. Kelly McGonigal is her last name. And so he was really like, you have to watch it. It's all about stress and how stress affects our lives. And I mean, it's really, what is fear but another form of stress, right? She has a quote in this TED Talk, and it's fascinating, where she says that really, when you look at stress as it's your body helping you rise to a challenge. Like, so if the fear is, if you start to kind of frame it as being helpful.
And that goes back to the radio thing, like you were saying, am I nervous enough to rise to the challenge?
Right. Exactly. You kind of, you frame it in that direction. So my favorite quote in the whole TED Talk, and I'll link to it in the body of our podcast post, is that she says, this is my body helping me rise to this challenge. And when you view stress in this way, your body believes you and your stress response actually becomes healthier. So the whole talk is fascinating about how, we all heard like stress is a huge, it leads to cardiac arrest and heart health and all of these things. But what she talks about in this TED Talk, and we can apply this to fear, is that it's not actually the stress that's unhealthy. It's the way we view the stress. And I found that really fascinating, because it's the same thing with fear. If you switch that dial and go, this fear is helpful, I'm excited, it's, then it changes the way your body actually even reacts to it, which is fascinating.
It is. That blows my mind about how we can control what our body does with our brains. And that was some of when we did stuff this week, there was one interview we did where there was so much focus on the physical and the weight. And I thought, that is it is a big piece of the book, healthy living choices, but there's so much mental as well. And I hadn't realized how powerful our brains are with controlling our body's response to fear. Actually,
and I would even say that's one thing about I fear on the radio shows or when we get interviewed, is that I'm trying to articulate that the book is so much more. I'm like, no, it's so much more than helping people lose weight or it's so much more than that. I'm like, we want to equip them with the mentality. We want to like help people kind of get out of their own heads. And I can never find the right words and it's a duality of the out and in, because we want them out of their own heads, but in their head enough to realize, yes, you can do this. Yes. See, I'm so scared I'm not going to use the right words or people will kind of interpret the words that I do use and then not truly understand what the book is about. So I have that fear, definitely. I know. And I'm so excited because our experience in this, I really do think I looked into it more as we talked about recording a podcast on it, and it really helped me. And the next one that we had chatted about, you have such a great story behind it. I have a little bit. My experience more comes from the personal trainer perspective, but fear of goal achievement. Yeah, I think, and fear of success. Fear of success. I talk about this, or I've talked about it a little bit on my blog, I think, especially in the weight loss realm. Sometimes I think, and I've had people even leave this comment on my blog, especially people who are struggling to lose weight, they'll get kind of a handle on things and they'll start to lose and they'll get very close to their goal. And then I think there is a fear there of almost achieving that goal, getting what they want, whether or not it'll be all that they thought it was going to be. And even so much like for me, I know when I lost the weight, there was this fear of, I almost didn't know who I was anymore, because you self-identify so much. Yes, like that makes I'm the chubby sense. Friend. I'm the fat girl. I'm I'm always like the sidekick. I'm never like, I'm not the one that boys are interested in. I'm not, you know what I mean? You kind of self-identify, even so much to so. And I always say that this was a defense mechanism. Like when I started becoming more interested in fitness, I had to get over myself because I was the person who used to make fun of runners. I'm like, oh, who runs on vacation? They're stupid. Who does, you know what I mean? Like, and then when I became that person, there is that fear of, oh my gosh, people are looking at me that way. Oh my gosh, they see me as the skinny girl. I'm not the skinny girl. I'm not the skinny girl. I had a client who struggled with that, and she
now has lost 100+ pounds and maintained it beautifully. But she used to say to me when she would hit plateaus or self-sabotage, I'm so scared, it took me forever to understand this, of being a fast walker. And of course, I was young. I was like 25. And so I took her literally, like, okay, you've shed this weight and now you're a fast walker. But finally, she explained to me it was like the runners on vacation. She saw, we were living in the South, the blondes, the ponytails swinging back and forth as they quickly walked. Yes. And there was a whole bunch of baggage. And so to her, losing the weight, it wasn't fear of the goal. It was fear of the side effect of the goal achievement.
Yes.
The side effect was that she was going to be a fast walker. And there's so much baggage there. And we talked a lot through it of you still control your identity. You still are who you are. Right. But she was terrified of being a fast walker.
Well, and I really think it's a combination of when you have insecurities, your defense mechanism really is to kind of make fun of almost what it is that you want to be. And
Internet
so,
trolls.
Yeah. And then when you get there or when you are approaching there, there's a real sense of fear because you have basically created your whole identity around making fun of that culture or being, or saying, whatever you might have used to say about skinny people, like skinny people have it easy. They do this, they do that. And then like, you're now, oh wait, I just lost 70 pounds. Now I'm skinny. And then there's this like struggle in your own brain, but there's definitely a fear there. And I think that fear holds people back sometimes from actually achieving their goals because they can't almost come to terms with that. They can't come to terms with that new identity. Yeah.
I get this in fitness, like makes total sense to me. I don't get it. And I truly cannot relate. And I'm curious if you can in any other realm. Like I don't fear the next one I have a lot of, but I don't fear the success in my world of work. Bring it on. I have worked hard.
Yeah, I think sometimes, I think there's that whole concept of being fear and having your self-identity. If you've self-identified as someone who struggles or someone who does that, I think it's the same concept.
Point.
Now all of a sudden you're like, if you have found success, then you're kind of like, I don't know, you've lost that little piece of yourself. I think
you make such a good point. Yes.
People with money too. I think if you were raised, like we were raised single family, we didn't have a lot of income. And then when you become more financially secure, I think there's a sense there too, where you want to say to people, oh, no, I understand what it means.
Yes, that's a good point.
Feel like you have to justify.
And I did get that before I rebranded because I was Ms. Fit, but for me, the play was on Misfit. And as I started to get a little more mainstream recognition, you're right. I did have a lot of people say to me, well, I guess you can't use that name anymore. And I thought, but I'm the same person.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah, that's right. I've used this quote on my blog a few times, and I think it's really kind of pertinent to this concept of kind of being afraid of success or afraid of reaching a goal. And it's by Miriam Williamson. And she says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? And then she ends with, actually, who are you not to be? And I think that's really powerful because sometimes I think we do have a fear of, there's like this concept of like the tall poppy syndrome. Have you ever heard of that? The tall poppy?
No.
Like, I think it comes out of Australia or Great Britain. It's the concept of if you actually are talented or if you're succeeding, but you're surrounded by people who kind of want to keep you down to their culture. Like you see this maybe in the inner cities or you see this in lower income areas.
Yes, that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. Like you're afraid, like you think like, look at a kid who may get good grades, but all his friends don't. Then
talk to like the member of the dominant culture.
Yeah. Then they don't want to talk about their good grades. They have tall poppy syndrome. They don't want to stand out. They don't want to be the smart kid. Yeah. And so,
because her quote I don't relate to. And I feel
I relate to that quote. No, I
don't. I think honestly, it all comes back to, and I know it's because we've been working so hard this week and it's our second podcast of the week, but I think, damn right, who am I not to? I have worked my ass off. Nothing was handed to me. And I feel kind of badly saying that as much as I try to work to instill it in my daughter.
No, I think it's great that you say that but I think the fear comes from people thinking that other people.
Yes, I hadn't.
So so then it's not that you don't know that you're deserving. You might think you're deserving or know that you're deserving, know that your hard work is paying off, but you fear that other people from the outside would look at you and say, well, she doesn't deserve that. She didn't work hard enough for that.
No,
she can eat anything she wants and be thin. She can, you know what I mean? And so it's more of you're kind of absorbing other people's impressions of
You're
you.
right. And then there comes on the social media humble brag on top of it all.
I was gonna say, oh, go ahead.
We just need to own it. If you're proud of yourself, own it. I think there was some big study that came out last week basically saying of all the people we dislike on social media, it's the humble braggers we like the least. And it's not because they want to toot their own horns. It's just own it.
Yes. No, I totally agree. And the reason why I almost cut you off was because it reminded me of our last podcast or maybe it was the one before, where you talked about not understanding the quote about, oh, now I'm forgetting it.
Oh my gosh, but yes, I
remember. You know what I'm talking about? Not understanding the quote of your own business.
What other people think about you is
other people think about you is none of your business. And I think that actually really relates to this, because once
you're right,
and you already have this ability, and I think once you get that ability to really realize that other people's opinions don't matter, then you move past that, this quote about inadequacy. Then you move past that, because you go, well, their opinion of me and whether or not they think I worked hard enough for it doesn't matter.
Wrapping it up. Okay, the next one I'm excited to get to because I have this.
Oh,
I didn't realize it until I thought so much about it. And it is fear of failure.
This is funny because I don't think I have this. I think we're completely opposites in these two, which is really funny. I have no fear of failure because I've tried so many things and failed that I know that it's not a big deal anymore.
But sometimes, and especially with some other stuff I've done recently, it feels so flipping public. I don't know. No, I do feel a failure. I'm trying to start this middle grade novel. And I think, what if it's not like in my head, I identify as a kick-ass fiction writer. What if I've totally lost those muscles and I do it and it's horrible? That will make me really sad. So I'm paralyzed by the fear of failure and I'm not starting.
No, I understand it, but I feel like I am very much in the, I just try things all the time anymore. I've put myself in a position where I'm constantly trying things. Like you always say, you always do the great visual of you're constantly throwing darts at the board and one of them will stick. And I've been doing that for 10 years, that I have no fear of failure anymore because I have failed so many times, and other people, they don't even seem to notice my failures as much as I do. Like all the sites I've attempted to launch that failed, all of the books I tried to write that failed.
But what do you feel about like our book, putting that out there? That feels really public.
It does. And I feel like I'm more fearful. Like if I wanted to pinpoint what I'm fearful about the book, it's that, and maybe this says a lot about me, I'm more fearful that people won't not like it, but won't get it and how important it is. Like I feel like like I really do believe in everything that we've written in the book, and that I mean really it's like a handbook and a guide to
life.
How I have managed and changed over the last 10 years. And that I feel like someone can just toss it to the side and be like, this is stupid. You don't need this. And you know what I mean? And I thought, no, I needed that. And if anyone's out there like me, it would really help them. And so I'm kind of more fearful that it will be pushed aside.
Because I don't fear any financial anything in any realm of my life. No. I'm a hard worker. I'll get 8 jobs. I have no fear of that.
Me neither, because I'll just work at McDonald's if I ever need cash.
And they always, what was the quote last week? Now I'm drawing a blank because it's not in front of me, but basically saying, I think would intimate that this is about the other, not about us, fearing what they think. But sometimes there are metrics. You sold 1 book, you sold 80 kabillion books. It's not worrying or wondering or assuming what other people think. There are hard numbers there. So sometimes the failure feels just really out there.
That's true. And I think I so don't know anything about the publishing world that I'm just like, to me, it's already been a success because I have a book published and people are finding it on a bookshelf.
I love the process.
Huge, which is really, really huge. But I'm more fearful that it will be almost just shoved aside as being, I don't know, stupid or irrelevant or not helpful. And I'm thinking, no, it's really helpful because these are all the things that helped me. And I'm just hoping that, and I just said this on my blog recently, I'm like, I know there is someone else out there who's where I was 10 years ago. And I want this book to help them. Yeah.
What is your fear thing? Like my fear that I cannot start. And I found a quote, I love this, but it doesn't work for me, by David Joseph Schwartz. Maybe it would. Do what you fear. Okay, 2 things now. I have this in my head. Do what you fear and the fear disappears. But then I think it was he or someone else who went on to say a few other things, talking about how fear is always related to another story. I'm fearful about starting this fiction, but it's kind of related to another story that I had an agent for my other fiction and it didn't sell. So the fear is never isolated.
Right.
So maybe you don't fear anything like that in that way.
No, I think we do fear a completely different thing. And I'm kind of sad. Like, it's sad for me to say that. I think I have more fear revolving around what other people think of me than I think my own internal fear anymore. Like, it's like my dial has shifted for some reason. And you would think as I get older, I would care less, but I think I might care more.
And it's funny because, as with everything in life, when it's not your fear, I look at yours and think, okay, that I could handle. Mine be paralyzed.
Grass is greener. Grass is greener.
It's like, it feels like, oh, can I help you with that? I'm paralyzed by my own. I mean, Shauna Reed, Diet Girl, and I have had these accountability pacts for going on like 4 years to get back to our fiction. And I'm afraid that it will suck. So I need to commit publicly. I'm going to wycwyc a book. It was that article I tweeted and you retweeted by Jeff Goins. How you say his name. But it's like, yes, basically he was saying, wycwyc a book, go.
Yeah, and I think the fear of things sucking.
Sucking is subjective.
Sucking is subjective.
And failing.
I mean, because I think sometimes I have that fear, like I have green light bites, right? So I'm constantly doing recipes, and I always fear that. It's funny because I don't think for example, I just made a recipe before we got on with like a sweet potato and spinach and sauce, and it was delicious. I really enjoyed it. My fear is not that I make something that someone doesn't, or that's not good or sucks. Okay, my fear is that I will express it and then they will think it sucks. They'll be like, well, that was a stupid idea. Why would you mix spinach and sweet potato? Why would you? And I'm thinking, but I enjoyed it. So my fear comes from a place of like, I'm not fearful it sucks. Like, my work sucks because I generally only ever do things that I'm proud of, or that I'm proud of what I do. Yeah, or I enjoy. Yeah. But then I'm more fearful that people will think it's stupid or stupid easy, or oh, that's been done a million times. That's not a unique idea. Why would you do that? Like, so I more fear, I think it more comes from an insecurity. Like, I'm more my fear stems from an insecurity that what I'm doing isn't that great.
And I question, my fear is that I discover I don't have the gift for this thing it's writing. And then I've always thought, I'm doing this, but I also write fiction. And what if I try and I can't do it anymore? Right. Okay, we never do a call to action, but I feel like I really want to do a call to action.
Okay, do a call to action. Let's do it. Let's not be fearful of our call.
There you go. It's if you blog, write a post about this. If you don't, tweet, Facebook, Instagram, because I'm super curious. Are we alone in what we fear? Do people experience the same, different? That would be super helpful and interesting to me as an individual.
Well, and I think it's funny, especially if we do a call for bloggers to participate, because I think by the very nature of people who blog, we're constantly throwing ourselves out there. Yes. So there is a level, and I think it's funny. I've had conversations where people are, well, aren't you scared of, putting this out online, or aren't you scared of people knowing your real name, or aren't you scared? And those things never scared me. I was never fearful of that. I'm more fearful. I don't know that. Sometimes you can't even pinpoint your fear. Is that sad? But I think the blogging personality is where people that other people might not think are fearful.
Yeah. Or when people tweet, I was terrified to hit publish, but I did on this post.
I do that with emails. Anymore, I find myself being very, very forward in emails I'll write the email and I'll stare at it and I'll proofread it like 6 times. And then I'll just go, oh my God, I just hit send.
You know what my secret to that is? And it's crazy, but it works here. I used to get paralyzed. And I know you're on the receiving end of this, and I feel sad for you. Not the fearful, but just the email onslaught. I do it all in the morning. For some reason, I wake up full of piss and vinegar and then coffee. And I'm like, I am writing these emails, and I'm going to say how it is and ask for what I need. Send, no fear. Then later when I get the response, I'm terrified to open it.
No, I do that. I've been doing a big no-no lately and engaging on Facebook in some fairly deep conversations. Yes. My husband is like, stop engaging. And I think I have this fear where I have a fear of expressing my opinion, especially, because when you're in Facebook, you're generally, you're surrounded by people, and friends and family and those kinds of things. So,
but people are also reading that you don't know. I sometimes think about that
there's a little bit of a mix there, but I think being secure enough in your opinions and sharing them. And I feel like I do actually feel like I have a gift to be able to engage in conversation and not take things personally. Like not, I can have a discussion with someone who has a completely different opposite opinion of me, than mine, and not take it personally. I'm good at that. I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I'm good at that. And so sometimes I feel like I have to engage with someone who may be kind of spewing hate or something that I just disagree with, and engage them in a very not confrontational way, but just hey, have you thought about this kind of way?
Yes.
But I'll write this really long comment in response to something. And then I sat on it and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do this. Maybe I
delete a lot on Facebook.
I'm fearful to hit send. And then I thought, no, I really do believe everything I'm saying right now. And I'm not doing it in a mean way. And I'm not attacking them. Why not express my opinion?
My fear is that I'm not expressing it perfectly because Facebook, it's more terse. I'm like, is this making sense? Am I conveying what I want? Are they going to misinterpret it?
Gosh, we just threw out about 18,000 things we're fearful of.
I know. So I'm excited. I have to do the call to action. I would love blog posts, but anything, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
kind of what you're afraid of. Yeah. And I really do think facing your fears sometimes it starts small, and I could talk an hour about this, but when I first lost weight and kind of got over some body image issues and started my whole journey, I always talk about, for me, the simple act of wearing a tank top was a huge leap of faith. I was terrified. And it's funny because I remember the last time I wore a sleeveless dress before that was at my high school graduation. And then I did not show my arms in public from the age of 18 till 29. That's how ashamed I was of my upper arms. And after I had Ryan and I was at my heaviest again, and I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, I'm like, this is me. Like, what? I got to get over this. I got to get over this this is stupid, to be honest. And I wore a tank top on a hike, and I'm like, I can get tears in my eyes thinking about it. And I was so fearful. And looking back, of course, the hindsight thing, you don't know why you're so fearful. No,
or it goes back to what you said before, that before you lost the weight, making fun of the runners on vacation, anyone who ever would have looked at you and thought anything in their head, it had nothing to do with you and all about them.
Yes. And putting on that tank top and then going out was so free. It was so funny because I remember thinking to myself, and I think I wrote about this on the blog. I can probably dig up the post. I'm like, no one took pictures. No one pointed and laughed. No one gave a crap that there's this, new mom with her baby in a sling with a sleeveless shirt.
And they probably all were staring because they're the new baby. And it's never about you. This is like the perfect segue into my wycwyc of the week.
Oh, great.
Because she's not at all, I don't think she's heard of wycwyc. I saw this quote and I thought, this is it. And her name, it's Twitter. It's xsoycize, EXSOYCISE, Amber. And she is at a conference. I don't know what the conference is. It's hashtag HMBA Live. But she tweeted, fear, I love this, is excitement on pause.
Oh, I love that. Fear is
excitement on pause.
Oh, did she come up with that? That's pretty clever.
I don't know. I think a speaker at the event must have said it.
Oh, okay.
But I thought that is exactly it. Starting back at the beginning to the radio show, that moment of fear was just the excitement on pause, hit play, move on.
That's it's funny that first, can I just say, every time you bring up the wycwyc of the week, I have this little bit of fear that we're going to have the same one. And then every time and I'm like, no.
Never do.
But I think it's funny that I kind of looked through all of the wycwyc tweets and Facebook posting and Tumblr and trying to find something that was relevant to our conversation today. And I couldn't, so I must have missed hers for some reason.
No, she didn't wycwyc it. That's what I did the same thing, and I thought people aren't talking about fear. Are they not experiencing it? Are they not ready to share it yet? That was kind of the call to action.
That makes me feel better that I didn't miss one.
No, you're right. I couldn't find anything, and I thought,
me neither.
People share their struggles, but not the fear. So I grabbed hers because I thought,
great.
mantra: fear is excitement on pause. Fear is excitement on pause.
Well, so I picked a wycwycer of the week because then I thought, well, it doesn't have to be exactly related, but of course I could probably make it related. So my wycwycer of the week is Joni. I think that's how she says it. It's Joani. And her Twitter account is little Effie. So it's little EFFI. And she's tweeted the last few days, and of course, knowing me, it's food related because everything I do is food related. Yesterday, she tweeted, wanted the English muffin and butter. I wanted the English muffin with butter and jam that my coworkers ate, but I had my overnight oats and boiled egg instead, wycwyc. And I said, I'm like, that sounds like a great breakfast to me.
I thought that.
Yes. And actually, she tweeted something a few days ago in a very similar vein. Let me see if I can find it really fast. And because I always relate to the wycwyc members who are doing food struggles, because that's
yes.
Here,
you're interesting because I'm the other way. I see the
know
movement.
We're completely opposites. So she also tweeted, this was a day ago, starving. There was chocolate cake, chips, pretzels, candy, cookies, and caramel coin. And I ate carrots with hummus, wycwyc. And I thought, and this is funny because I can actually relate this to fear if you think, because sometimes I think when we make our food choices, we also make them out of fear. So you could be worried about what other people think. Oh, why is she eating carrots and hummus when there's a chocolate cake available? Doesn't she know how good chocolate cake is? Or what is she trying to die? You're worried about what other people's assumptions are being made by the food choices that you make. But really, again, it's something that you can fear, or it's something that you can own, like we said before. And you go, I really want hard-boiled eggs and oatmeal because that's what I planned and I have goals in mind and I'm going to stick to my guns. Or you can let the fear of what other people think of you affect your food choices.
I love this whole thing, and I am like super excited. People do not let me down. I'm so curious if we're alone in this or if people are feeling it, and especially blog, Facebook, Instagram, there's no character count. I can see, I was wondering that same thing with the hummus and carrots. Did people ask? Was she worried about what they said? But there's not enough characters there. So I'm curious if anyone else struggles with this.
Well, and I think sometimes it's one of those things that I don't think people realize they struggle with it until I'm hoping this kind of maybe has people open their eyes. So you're like, you know what? I know I've had that realization, like I'm only making this choice because I'm worried about what other people are going to think instead of making the right choice for me. And that is a fear-based choice. Like that's using fear to kind of really derail you from your goals, which is kind of scary. So,
oh, sister, I was fearful. I was too tired for this podcast, but this was awesome. This was the best part of my day.
You know what? I kind of like this new, let's come up with the topic. And I like the very special episode that we do.
I know. I really enjoy this. And I really hope you guys jump in and use the hashtag or leave comments on the blog post or the YouTube and make yourself vulnerable and share.
Yes, it's very powerful. That's why I blog, really, is when you make yourself vulnerable, you can actually kind of open yourself up to change. It's scary, but you open up yourself to change. Totally. All right. On that note, we're saying out, and we're going to say wycwyc. Bye, guys. Okay, we did it.
Wow, that was awesome.
That was awesome. See, I knew when we just had a conversation, it would be fine.
That was really fun, but I was worried I was feeling too flat. That was really great.
It's really good because our own experiences lead to really good conversations because we really do look at things completely not differently, but
but perfectly different.
Yeah, we do. Like we have different experiences with, I don't know, just we're different. I guess that's normal.
Oh my gosh. But I think about some of the Skypes I've had, and this is unkind. We're still recording.
We are still recording.
And it's just, she knows this about herself with,
oh, okay.
Our friend with a great background. It's just, she's super flat. And so sometimes it brings me down and sucks my energy out. We're good at energizing each other.
Yeah, no.
As we go. Sometimes, is that me? Oh, I do need to run to my phone call.